It's your favorite voice of ecstasy. It's John St. John with the best morning after ever radio show. 30-some-odd minutes of happenings, discussions, and full frontal nudity. So put your arms around your speakers. It's John St. John.
Hey, we're here. We're thawing. Not really. It's freezing.
It is cold.
It's John St. John here with the best morning after ever. Good morning, and boy, are we awake. Oh, we are awake. It is frickin' freezing here. It was supposed to warm up by Wednesday morning. What happened?
It didn't. So
it didn't.
So there's
Cindy's just looking at me with a scared look on her face, like, it didn't.
There's your weather report. So
the weather report for today is...
Now we're adding weather to our repertoire.
It's cold!
It's cold outside.
I feel like Howard Stern in the movie Private Parts, where he has that dominatrix going, it's whatever I forget what she says. She's putting her cigarette out in the guy. She's like, it's cold! I don't know what Kingpin's doing over there. Anyway, so yeah, it's freezing cold in here. We're trying to do our best to stay warm in the cold studio. I always thought it was good for audio equipment and computers, but I'm being told by all my engineers that fans don't work very well in the cold. No. And so actually, so you know what? It's cold in here. That's all I can say. So we're doing our best. We're going to stay on the air as long as we can without our toes freezing. But anyway, it's not management's fault. It's the building, I guess. But anyway, it's cold, and I'm sure it's cold in President Obama's White House briefing room.
I'm sure it is.
He's had a rough couple of weeks with all the changes in the national Congress. You know, the seats. Everybody's being booted out.
Can't he sign an executive order to change the weather?
He
doesn't have those powers yet, right?
He likes to sign those executive orders.
I know,
doubt. I wish he could, get them weather satellites altered or something.
He promised us change, and the weather is
the weather is not
changing in the wrong direction.
It's changing cold, like really cold. What about global warming? I guess the theory is this is part of climate change. It's not so much global warming anymore. It's climate change.
Right. We don't do global warming.
I don't understand when former Senator, former Vice President Gore, when it switched, but I guess it switched at some point.
Well, it switched when he came up with the company that sells the carbon credits.
Or when he didn't get in office, maybe.
Yeah, or something like that.
But anyway, I'm all for environmental protection. I'm definitely. I mean, I've been members of all these organizations, Clean Air and Water, stuff like that. But, I don't know. Anyway, so the political climate's a little cold, too. I mean, people are not happy in general. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention. I'm just babbling.
Right.
We have a caller, and
maybe it's our new weather girl.
She's already listening, and we didn't even get into the topic yet, but that's okay. She wants to talk about the weather, maybe. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, it's Aunt Flo.
Oh, it's my stalker. Hey, good morning. Are you cold?
Yeah.
We were just talking about how freezing it is outside and in the studio
it's
too.
a bit nippy out there.
Even on a Wednesday morning, a cold Wednesday morning, we were supposed to warm up in Chicago. They got 5 foot of snow, or like 4.5 foot of snow up on the East Coast by Buffalo.
4.5.
In Buffalo, New York. Oh, she's getting all excited over the measurements.
Really?
Oh yeah, I always get excited over measurements.
Well, 4.5 is pretty big. So.
Foot or inches? I don't know.
Feet.
4.5 inches around? What are we talking about? You're talking about feet.
Like a Coke can? What?
So we were just about to get into our conversation about what's going on with the world news and politics and everything. But you already want to comment on the weather, I take it?
I'm just freezing my nips off, but other than that, I'm okay.
Okay, cool. So you just like saying hi every once in a while.
Yeah, I like to say hi. I like to crank your shaft.
Did you did you vote?
Of course I voted.
And you voted early and often? You're from Chicago?
Not early, but often.
You're from Chicago?
Oh, of course.
Early and often, So, so anyway, I was just about to read an article about Dr. Ron Paul, and then I don't know how political this is, but I just wanted to, before I forgot to mention this story, and it is kind of political because there's this thing going around. I call it the alternative media, about how they compare for some reason. And my producers talked to me about this ad nauseum, like over and over, about Charles Manson. We're talking about Charles Manson.
Okay.
And how Charles Manson is in prison, but Ted Kennedy was never in prison.
Right. Well, Charles Manson's getting married, apparently, I think, is what I
Well, that's
saw.
the story. We'll get to it in a second. But political-wise, was he on the wrong side of the Democratic Party or something? I mean, I don't know who was in power in the late '60s. I guess the Democrats in California and federally.
You'd think he'd kind of be part of the Democratic Party.
I mean, I know he was hanging out. I don't know if he was hanging out with the Kennedys. I know he was hanging out with the Beach Boys before all this stuff happened.
Right. I mean, he was involved in all that drug culture way back in the late '60s. That
are you a Charles Manson fan or what?
I'm not a Manson fan. I'm just I follow serial killers. I'm obsessed with them.
So you're obsessed with me, and you think I'm a serial killer? Wait, I'm confused.
I'm obsessed with weird, macabre stuff.
Well, we're definitely weird here. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
We're actually
Weird
being
is better,
We're actually being a little serious on this show. We're talking a little bit of national politics. So
But I have a sense of humor about everything. That's the way I am.
I'm not sure how Charles Manson comes into national politics.
it's just because I wanted to bring up the story.
I need you to follow through on that.
I'm getting to it. Just the story is, and I don't know if this is like the Liberty Media, alternative media, whatever you want to call the people that reported this. There was a thing going around the internet about how it was a political witch hunt to go against him because he had his little organization. I mean, kind of like the Koresh deal. Supposedly he had his own little political party. I don't know if you want to call it political party, but they were his groupies. But they were also into like a whole lifestyle, how you live life.
Right.
I guess who you vote for. I don't know. But that's what I was talking about in a couple articles on the internet. I just found it so weird. I'm like, before I forget, I want to bring it up. First of all, Charles Manson's getting married in prison to a 23-year-old. So I don't know what in the hell's going on. Speaking of the politics, why is the prison system allow this type of thing to happen? I mean, it's kind of like a sensationalism thing, a case. It's like making a big deal out of a serial killer.
It's kind of amazing that he's still actually relevant.
What is he, about 100 now?
I think
He's 80.
He's 80, yeah. I mean, they actually had him up for parole not too long ago, I think, is what I remember. And he actually almost had a decent shot at getting out because he's 80.
Really?
So,
I don't think so. No, that was going around in the news. It was like in the Onion and all those alternative
it was one
papers,
of those
but it
things
was like a joke that he was going to be paroled.
Maybe one of his last shots or something like that.
I don't think so.
I mean, we all know that he's not the crazy one. It's everybody else.
That's my point. That's what this story is talking about. How he had this political movement back in the '60s of like not really anti-war, but just whatever. He was trying to talk against the government, so they kind of almost framed him. But how did they? Who killed Sharon Tate?
Listen, he was bitter because he didn't get a record contract. So he gave his followers instructions to go kill Terry Milcher, and Terry Milcher didn't live in that house anymore.
See, she followed.
Polanski's did.
Wait, hold on. You stalk me, but it sounds like you stalk all the serial killers too. That's scary.
No, but I know
Is this where you get your ideas from?
What's that?
I'm glad we were behind bulletproof glass.
Yeah, we're this. I don't know if it's bulletproof.
I don't know if it's bulletproof
but
either.
It's far away from Aunt Flo. I think she lives out in the suburbs
nothing
somewhere.
to do with political parties. Nothing.
Yeah, that's just what's going around on the internet.
No, I just know. I've followed the
political
story for a long time.
Well, whatever. So, are you a little jealous that I've got a new co-host, a nice new lady in here?
No, I'm not jealous at all. I'm not going out in this weather.
I thought Aunt Flo, you were gonna be stalking me. You're gonna come over here.
No, I'm gonna be stalking y'all. Come on.
Not tonight.
I do
it's
it
too
via
cold.
phone, not via person.
This morning it's freezing.
Right.
Yeah.
Not this morning.
You weren't in that car that keeps driving by real slowly.
Yeah, I keep seeing the
same
lights.
Car.
The red lights over there, and he's slowing down again. Or is it a she? Is it Aunt Flo? Are you on the phone? Are you right in front of the portage?
No.
That's not Aunt Flo. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate the update on your view on what you thought was going on with the whole Charles Manson thing. But
No,
like
I know
said,
what's going on.
hey, it's on the internet, so it's got to be true,
It's
right?
gotta be true.
Come on, it's on the internet. Anyway, so, hey, it was nice hearing from you again. You can stalk me anytime.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. So anyway, where I was going with the story, she got a little upset. She doesn't want me to make fun of the serial killers, apparently.
No, those are her
Jeez.
heroes. I mean,
Apparently so.
You have to look up to somebody in this world, and
Where do you get a stalker anyway? I don't know how that happens.
I don't know.
They like your voice. They just want to be on radio.
Well, your voice is very soothing. And,
oh, sure.
And
Oh yeah, baby. What are you wearing tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I know what you're wearing.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, the whole political thing was it's tied in with the why is the prison system? I don't know how political it is. It's more like judicial system. But why do they allow conjugal visits? Well, not even conjugal visits. Why do they allow a serial killer to have any rights at all?
Probably shouldn't have any rights. I mean,
in prison, he's getting married in prison.
I think the whole thing.
Don't
about
we
being
pay
in
for this?
Prison,
the guards to be there and probably put his clothes together and all that.
Right. They when you go to prison, apparently, from what I've understand is. They
I want to know more.
They basically strip you of your name.
I want to know more about conjugal visits. Yeah, I'm prison number 41444, like in the Stooges, right?
Yeah, stuff
the
like
Three
that.
Stooges.
I mean, you're just an inmate number.
Well, how come everybody knows him as Manson? Well, he's got the swastika.
Well, because he's, I guess he's, more of a famous inmate, but
he's got the swastika. That's what it is.
I mean,
he's a famous inmate.
He's a famous. he's infamous.
Yeah, he's infamous in prison.
The infamous prison. I mean, well, how many times
in California
do we have a figure like that?
How many people are infamous in prison right now? Let's see. OJ is another one.
OJ, our former governor.
Yeah, our former. Oh, can't forget about the governor of Illinois. Yeah, I'm sure there's many more.
I guess
many more serial killers.
Who else?
No, they killed like Dahmer, and they killed Gacy. The prisoners killed Dahmer in prison. Gacy they finally killed. The state finally executed him. Yeah.
Ted Bundy got executed.
Yeah, so a lot of them are gone.
Aileen Wuornos got executed. Yeah,
there's a guy running around in Northwest Indiana over here near us in Chicago, and he murdered a lot of I guess prostitutes. But he murdered like 20 of them across the country supposedly. I forget his name, Dow or David Dean Dow, black guy from Gary originally. And he was in the military. That's a rough. So he's considered a serial killer. That'll be the next story. You'll hear about his conjugal visits.
We really haven't heard about a whole lot of serial killers lately. Like not in the last few years. I think it's kind of.
But what I don't understand about the whole prison thing and the political side of it is why do they allow conjugal visits, or why do they even allow a guy to get married? I was about to say it. I'm saying it again. It makes no sense.
Well, they should.
Why they could.
They shouldn't. It should be a very bare bones.
And I think it's up to each warden. I don't think it's a state law. I think it's all about. And it would be state because these are state prisons, not federal. But why, when you're in prison, like you said, they strip your name. Why do you get to? I can understand you got to shower, go to the bathroom, maybe get some time outside so you see the light. Go totally nuts. But getting married, having conjugal visits. I mean, if I was in prison, I'd be looking forward to them. I think by a woman, not a man.
It makes
Let me clarify that.
It makes me kind of want to go to prison if that's what these things, if that's
yeah,
happens.
I mean,
I don't think it's exactly.
Well, wait, but you wouldn't. You'd go to women's prison.
I go to women's prison. So
yeah, so you want to go to women's prison?
I don't know. Maybe no, maybe not. I don't think so.
Okay.
I just don't want to go to. I don't want to go to any prison.
I think you secretly have a fetish. Are you going to stalk some of the prison? You're going to be stalking Manson now.
No. I'll be in women's prison.
I guess
famous women inmate. I don't know.
I guess it wasn't totally related to political stories, but I just wanted to throw that in there because it's kind of interesting that he's getting married in prison to a 23-year-old.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of these things, if they brought back the death penalty like they do in Texas.
Well, I believe they still have it in California. He just keeps getting life in prison.
I think they.
I thought Illinois doesn't have it, but I thought California still does.
I think they suspended in California or.
Let's check.
It was one of those.
We're supposed to be media.
It was
people.
one of those things where he was grandfathered out or in, or
I don't remember. I just know he got life in prison, and every time they try to parole him, it never happened.
What about the other famous inmates or infamous inmates of? Yeah. Whatever happened to the Night Stalker?
There's so many, dude.
I mean,
so many of them.
Well, who really cares?
Anyway, who really cares about Charles Manson, right? I guess the girl doesn't. You know what? His grandson is condoning the whole thing. Charles Manson's grandson.
Okay, he's a grandson.
He's got a lot of family.
Does he?
I thought they all disowned him.
Well, I mean, we know about the Manson family, but I think that was kind of a
those
family.
Were real family.
That wasn't like family.
Those were like his harem of his political party.
Right.
That was his political party.
Yeah, I mean, those were in the commune. The hippie commune.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so politics. We were just talking about cold in Washington. Mm-hmm. Just the whole change thing. But they didn't vote for the Keystone Pipeline.
They didn't.
I thought they were going to pass it, but obviously it's the lame duck session, so it's still a majority of the Democratic Party, and they really don't want to do any drilling.
Well, yeah, I don't think a whole lot of major legislation is going to happen in the next.
Actually, it's not a
2
drilling;
months.
it's the pipeline. I take that back, but it's related to the drilling up in Canada. And apparently, people thought it was going to kill the environment through that line. They want to go through, I think,
Right.
North Dakota, South Dakota, along by Wyoming, all the way down through next to Texas, and all the way down to the Gulf. All the way from Canada.
Right, which would probably help and make things more economic and economical.
I think the reason I think it is all politics. It really is. I think if you just looked, if you took the party side thing, left and right views and independent view, whatever, and you just talk facts, I think people would figure out it's a good way to help us stay,
Yeah, but we don't deal
energy
in facts.
independent. We don't deal with facts in
Americans,
politics.
we
in
don't
America.
deal in
We
facts.
don't like
It's
facts.
pure emotion.
It's
my
all
friend.
emotion. Yeah,
It is
that's
all
funny.
emotion. It's how I feel about something. And
Well, anyway, they didn't pass it. They did not pass the legislation to build it. So maybe they'll do it in the next Congress.
I mean, I there's probably some prairie dog that
They're saving the prairie dog in Texas.
Probably
or
happy
Kansas.
that they're
Yeah,
some rare breed.
What's funny about that is a lot of the federal politics seem to mimic what's going on in Illinois because Illinois is where our president's from, and a lot of the prominent politicians you always hear about in the news. Senator Dick Durbin, he's from Illinois. He's what is he now? The minority whip, I guess,
Right.
instead of majority whip. But anyway, he was obviously talking out big time against it. And, but yet in Illinois, they're allowing it. Did you hear about this? In Illinois, they're allowing the fracking.
Okay.
They're not allowing a pipeline. They're allowing the fracking that then will
Right.
go down the pipeline.
Right.
Which I find interesting. They'll allow that, but they won't
They'll
wanna
put it
do
in
the pipeline.
in the south, in the southern part of the United.
You know how many pipelines are in America? There's a map here. I got to put it up on Facebook.
There's tons.
There's like hundreds of them.
Yeah.
They don't go across the whole country. They go
No.
zigzag. And I got to show you the map if I can.
No,
pull
but
it
the
up real quick.
fracking is
it
just
goes this way, it goes that way. you
right.
know.
The fracking is just for getting the oil out of the ground, which
I know.
is stuck in the rocks.
But what I'm saying is they're making a big deal about this intercoastal, or what do you want, intercontinental pipeline. It's not like we don't have them already.
No.
We have the one across Alaska,
Right.
the Alaskan pipeline.
Exactly.
As far as I know, Alaska's still doing fine as a wetland and, preservationist area, and they still got all the snow and
But-
the ice caps, which people are saying they're melting, speaking of
But we're
cold and
still not
warming and all that.
We're still not drilling in Anwar, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Anwar,
no, I don't
right?
know if we ever
Right?
did that. Did we ever drill in
It's
Anwar?
the
I'm
very
not sure if we did.
it's the very northern part, and
I don't think we
nobody
did
lives
yet.
up there.
I'm
maybe
not
a few
sure if we
people
ever
live up
did
there.
drill up there.
But that's where the polar bears. I
Wait,
think,
here
or
we
somebody-
got to get Kingpin to get
Okay.
Sarah Palin on the line. Let's call Sarah Palin. She'll know.
Are we calling Sarah Palin?
No, I don't.
Well, I don't know.
have her information.
Speaking of Sarah Palin, what's going on in Russia? Because I know she can see. She can see over there from her house.
She can see
So
Why don't we call her and ask
She's got an
her?
eye on.
Oh wait, she's not governor anymore. She hasn't been for years, so we won't be able to
governor.
get.
I think her career is
Let's find her
over.
private cell phone. No, she's always in the news. She beat up some photographer.
Wow.
Did you hear about that?
That's just because now she's the crazy ex-governor. I mean, she had her moment in the sun, and she lost it when she quit.
Well,
I mean,
she
that was the dumbest
running
idea.
for president or vice president with John McCain, and
No, but she quit her governorship like 2 years into it.
yeah, she did.
of the first term, and it's like, okay, you
Well,
can't even finish 4 years of being governor.
Well, she had. What do you mean? She had to run for president, so she figured. I mean, vice president. So
no, she quit that after the election was over, and they had already lost.
No, I don't think so. I think it was right
Yeah.
before. I
No.
think she resigned. If I'm not mistaken, she resigned. She resigned right before. But that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really
We're
matter.
getting way off the subject. We're talking about cold and global warming and politics here on the Best Morning After Ever with my co-host Cindy and me, John St. John. And I think we have a caller. I saw him waving at me a
We
second
need
ago.
to take a break for something, or
No.
No, I thought you were taking a break.
Oh.
I'll talk to you about this later.
Okay. Oh, okay. Now we got our caller. He's calling the wrong line. Let's take a
All right,
break
let
and
me-
we'll get our caller on. We're going to talk about what's going on down in Ferguson right after this on the Best Morning After Ever radio show here on Slammer Internet Radio.
I saw Sparks last night. She finally showed me her favorite website. It made my jaw drop at first glance. We had the wildest time together, ordering from the erotic shop, And I'd have to say, thesparkmaker.com lived up to its name. And now, I have plans to surprise her. I'll show her something she hasn't seen. Thank you, thesparkmaker.com. Don't miss him any longer. John St. John is back to fill your ears with his goodness on the best morning after ever radio show. John?
I'm back, and we're working on getting our guests. We're having some phone issues there, and he called the wrong hotline. So, Pete, if you're listening, you got to call the main phone line, and Kingpin will get you on the air. We're going to be talking about a big story. Obviously, that happened, over the summer. Was that end of August? Remember, in Ferguson, Missouri? You know what I don't understand about this story? And we'll get into detail when Pete gets on. But why? You know how many shootings there are in Chicago, and how many incidents there are with police beatings and just police interaction with, quote unquote thugs. Not that I'm going to say the brown guy was, a thug, even though everybody's saying he wasn't. That was the whole point of this whole riot thing. But why did it make such big news down? I guess because it's a small town outside of a big urban area in St. Louis. And it was a white against black
mostly
thing.
Mostly white, or
it was a white-black thing.
Or maybe the town was mostly black, but like their whole police force was white. I don't remember.
No, you don't have it. You got it exactly right. It was mostly a white police force, mostly a black area of St. Louis. It's a suburb of St. Louis.
Right.
Not really, because it's actually like 40 minutes north, but it's still pretty close to St. Louis.
Well, I mean, we don't have that problem here in Chicago because we have enough diversity where,
We don't have the problem of getting it in the news and having the riots.
No, we don't have the problem of the white cops, black people, or black cops, white people. Well, if it was black cops and white people,
I think we have the problem all the time. But that's what I'm saying. You never hear about it. That's my point.
Well,
why is this making such national news? But it's becoming not segregation. Excuse me. It's becoming like a racial. Profiling. It's becoming like a civil rights issue.
Well, it's trying to divide us again on certain things because these things they happen, and then of course it's a big giant issue, and then the next thing you know, you have Jesse Jackson down there, and
well, no, it wasn't just Jesse Jackson.
No, I mean I'm just saying that he's one of the first ones out.
It was, and he does a show on MSNBC. He's down there. Al Sharpton, and who else? There was a couple other civil rights leaders down there.
Exactly, and.
In Chicago politics, surprisingly, one of the other big, I don't know if he's so much civil rights, but he's very active in the black community. He used to be a state senator. The Reverend James Meek actually ended up not really speaking out against it, but he wasn't so in favor of making it a big civil rights issue, as much as a lot of the other activists are, and down there.
Right.
I say down there because we're in Chicago taping, or live in the morning here. But it's just strange how this whole thing is playing out. That I'm going to say it again. Why don't we hear more? And I'm sure this happens a lot in L.A. You've got the Spanish, the black, the white population all clashing right there.
We don't get news out of L.A. I mean, when was the last time you actually watched like the nightly news, like on one of the major 3 networks?
I'm a news junkie, so I listen to CBS News like all the time.
Okay, well,
and then all kinds of podcasts. YouTube, Alex Jones, just whatever I can find. Alternative stuff. Ron Paul's channel. Ron Paul has a channel.
But if you watch those main channels and stuff like that, it's whatever the big story is.
The mainstream, the crackpot media, I think they call it.
Or whatever. I don't even know if they're mainstream anymore because it's like, they're losing out to so many other things, and then the next thing you got
Well, we're like quote unquote alternative media, but it's becoming the trend. I mean, this is it. This is becoming. Most people will download a podcast before they listen to live news anymore.
Right. I mean, I think certain things have probably they're on the downward slide, maybe. But,
I don't know. I just think it's weird that it's been almost 3 months and. It's you know what it is. They're trying to indict the police officer.
Well, I mean, how long did that whole Trayvon?
Not trying. They're in front of a jury, and they're probably going to end up indicting. But if they don't, there's going to be a big time.
Right. And how long did that whole Trayvon Martin thing go on for?
I forgot about Trayvon Martin in Florida. About a year, maybe.
Right. I mean, it was like that.
Whatever happened to that guy? The Spanish guy that shot him. He's in prison or something.
No, he's free.
He got in trouble in another state.
Or maybe he got in trouble in another state, but he's. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't remember either.
I really don't. I stopped listening.
Something happened.
I mean, I swear, these things, when they blow them out of proportion on the news, and I say, okay, I get the major points, and then that's it.
Well, I'm waiting to get a first-hand report because one of our other shows, The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction with Pete Wichert, he actually went down with the, speaking of Alex Jones, Alternative Media, he went down to Ferguson, Missouri to see firsthand what's going on, but it turns out the media didn't get the story right. The verdict probably won't come out till next week. So a lot of people were down there to cover it, and there's no verdict in terms of whether they're going to do.
And I can understand why.
The police officer.
Well,
yeah, they didn't want
put it off until next week when people are leaving and going to spend time with their families.
Nobody's in town.
And all the rioters go home. I mean, because a lot of people come to Chicago for Thanksgiving. I mean, everybody's got family in here. I mean.
Yeah, well, it's just it's appropriate for them, I guess, to do it on a time where there'll be less people in town because of the riots. Is what you're saying?
Because
let's try to just make the point here. It's a strategic move.
Yeah.
To eliminate what they saw a couple months ago.
Because if you're busy enjoying turkey and then going and standing in line for your new Xbox or whatever. You're not going to be out there rioting. So
yeah, I guess.
But then again, I mean, maybe they would be rioting for the new Xboxes.
I'm not taking sides. I just don't understand the coverage being as widespread as it is, but it's happening. So anyway, we got a couple minutes, but there's a lot more to talk about. I mean, Dr. Ron Paul, who obviously is not anything anymore. He was a U.S. rep for 30 years, and he's also obviously a doctor.
And a former presidential candidate.
About 5 times now?
Something like that.
4 or 5 times. He's making the news about, did you hear about this? He's got an Institute for Peace and Prosperity is one of the projects he's working on now. And speaking of Ferguson, they're talking about having, the national ID program across, not just in the USA, but like worldwide.
Okay.
So he's kind of, obviously putting his 2 cents in, coming out against it, of course, because now it's similar. He's comparing it to Nazi Germany. Papers, Please. Remember?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie with Indiana Jones? Papers, Please. And
exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's thinking is going to be the next, the trend here that it's going to happen.
And I maybe some people listen.
I mean, a lot of. I keep calling it alternative media, but a lot of the non-mainstream or the non-big corporate media stations like an Alex Jones Network, David Icke, I'm trying to think who else, Mark Dice, The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction with Pete Wichert, who's with us. They're all talking about like stories like this, how this could be like just another way to bring in the social, regime. But I think we have our caller. I was moving on to talk about a little bit about Ron Paul, but I want to get a first-hand account in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the show. Do we have Pete from The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction on the line with us?
You do, brother.
There he is. Well, I don't know what number you were calling, but we got you now. Okay.
Yeah, no, my inbox is full with everybody asking about Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I didn't get any of your texts.
Oh,
I'm sorry about
that's great,
that, brother.
Well, at least you're on. We're on taping this Wednesday morning. You're live in the morning with us. Give a report of what happened. We kind of already gave the background. There was no verdict. So, what can you talk about your firsthand view of what's going on? And I'll just shut up and listen here.
Yeah, I'd love to, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Well, the first thing that stuck out to me is when I was actually driving there, I seen National Guard trucks. I seen about 70 police cars once I got into Ferguson. Not once the whole time, the whole ride up I-55, not one police car. I've seen MRAP.
They're all in Ferguson.
Yeah.
They were talking about, I don't want to go as far as saying martial law, but like having a federal zone or like a lockdown area. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was actually in the room with Jakari and Joe Biggs when they read the report. Basically, they're under federal control.
Those guys are from
the state of emergency.
Those guys are from the Alex Jones Network, just to fill people in.
Yeah, they're from InfoWars, Nightly News, and Alex Jones Show. But they're like the anchors of the nightly news, two of the best reporters in the business, hands down.
And you were right there with them, getting the first-hand account. That's what I wanted to hear, the first-hand accounts of what you were seeing. And we were talking about how it doesn't make sense that this is getting such a big play when how many times does this kind of stuff happen in Chicago? We just brought it up, or in the streets of L.A., but yet this one, I think just because of, unfortunately the racial lines.
There's something more to it. Did you know that a year ago, prior to the Mike Brown incident, they were already training for martial law, and Infowars.com has the videos up?
Down in that area of Missouri, or just in general?
In the exact same area.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep, they're in St. Louis and Ferguson.
So what can you tell us that we won't hear on the mainstream media, Pete? Go ahead.
Well, what you won't hear is that number one, first off, when I went there, I wanted to go to the people most affected. I wanted to go to the business owners. I wanted to go to the people on the street. So I wanted to go to, the roughest neighborhoods I could. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And on the way, I'm listening, and a report comes on saying, if you're white, you should stay out of this area. They're just beating people up for their race. Well, wow. That could have been further from the truth. Every single person I went up to was kind, generous, and all said the exact same thing. It is a racial thing, and it isn't. The reason it is a racial thing is because the police department, it's an overwhelming number. Above, I want to say, like 60% of the officers are white. And historically, it's kind of like Chicago with Cabrini Green. They had projects there. And they've been harassing them for years and will not let any African Americans or black officers join the force. And over the past 4 or 5 years, it's been escalating to the point of harassment. And
back up a minute. You compared the Ferguson projects to what Cabrini Green used to be. So what it was kind of like, everybody stay out of here unless you're a certain race, which a lot of time in Chicago was African American, right?
Exactly. And it's the same thing. They closed it down, then leaving a gap, where no one really could go. They're used to living in a, government-assisted place. And the location itself is actually surrounded by the Mississippi. So when they bring in and they blockade the road, everyone there is trapped. They can't get out. You're stuck in Ferguson. So when they locked that place down for a week last time, everyone I talked to, they couldn't even go get groceries. They couldn't leave.
So was it locked down while you were there, or were they still letting people in and out?
They were letting people in and out, but you could tell that there was some preparation going. I saw some military equipment being transported via train, via truck. The police activity was there, so I was expecting them to release the verdict. Now, why they didn't, the only thing I could think of is they're going to do it around Thanksgiving.
So the bottom line is you go down there to see what's going on. They don't have this verdict, but there's still a lot of almost militaristic action going on right in the middle of the homeland here of the USA.
Yep, and Homeland Security's there.
It's bizarre, but again, what we were saying earlier before we were trying to get you on there, we were having trouble with the phones, but when we were trying to get you on, we were talking about how it's crazy how, again, it's not really reported on. It happens all the time in these bigger urban neighborhoods.
Chicago.
Chicago is one of them. New York City. But yet it's such a big deal. But I guess the bottom line is, and I'm sure you're going to talk more on your show, The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction with Pete Wichert, but the bottom line is there's more to the political agenda than we hear about in any media. But you're talking about it, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I guess we're talking about it here.
I think that it's justification for the militarization of the police, but I also think it's for the military equipment, which they're getting from the Army. Because they're not getting it for free. They're buying it. So they have to have a reason to justify the bill.
Man, there's a lot to this story, and I will definitely tune into your show when you get back here. You're going to be on when?
I'm going to be on Thursday, God willing.
Thursday night, okay.
6 p.m. Central Time.
All
and
right.
I'm actually, when we get off air, I'm going to do a video on YouTube of my own account and put it up for anyone who wants to check it out. You could go to YouTube, and my name's Pete Wichert, and that's spelled Wichert. And you could be able to find pretty much my interviews, my pictures, everything from Ferguson, all my shows there.
Good. We'll definitely check it out, and we'll definitely listen to you here on SlamInternetRadio.com.
And just to let you know, this is breaking. I haven't told anyone yet. I just got...
Go ahead, real quick.
Real quick, I just talked to one of my sources who pretty much confirmed what we were talking about off air, that it's almost like a smoke screen that watch for the verdict to come down on Friday after Thanksgiving.
We already mentioned on the air that they did that purposely. So we'll definitely listen to your show. It's The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction with Pete Wichert right here on SlamInternetRadio.com, YouTube, and Spreaker, and I'm sure several other places. InfoWars is picking you up now, and definitely listen to us as well. You've been listening to the best morning after ever radio show right here with John St. John and Cindy. And until Thursday, everybody have a great morning.